Hey, what's up, guys? Professor Protoss here with another replay analysis. Today we have some really interesting replays sent from Joel Chan to me, and today's going to be a special video because I'm also going to analyze one of my own replays as a comparison. So the first replay Joel sends is a PVT where he says he starved out. He played on the map Arcadia 2, and he says there's a lot of back and forth. Pretty pleased with some of the exchanges using Stasis and High Templar and flanking. He just couldn't strike a decisive blow, even when he did reclaw in his main. So, he says, after watching the replay, he quickly realized that I have some impression, but also noticed another fatal error. My macro for economy really flagged in the late game. Let's dive right in. Take a look at the first replay, which is a Protoss vs. Terran from Joel. So Joel, thanks for submitting a replay. If you want to submit a replay, send it to professorprotoss@gmail.com. Alright. So we have Joel as Joel Chan 86 versus Zaltair in the Protoss vs. Terran matchup on Arcadia 2. We're going to go to ×4 speed for the opening. So Joel, thanks for submitting the replay. I have some good analysis for you. And also I want to do an analyze of my own replay. This is a perfect opportunity for that. So we have Joel in the top right and Zaltair in the bottom right. Let's speed up to ×8, guys. Alright, so Joel's going gateway, then he's scouting with his first worker. That's typically what I do in Protoss vs. Terran. His opponent is walling right here. However, I feel like his barracks isn't placed right. And, aha! That's what I thought. The probe gets right in. So be careful when walling as Terran. I think you need to put the barracks more closer this way. Otherwise the probe gets in your base and this is what happens. So Joel, first thing I noticed, your minerals are getting pretty high. I think you might be focusing a little too much on running away from the SCV. What you should be doing is focusing on your building and your macro first. So like I discussed in one of my previous videos, if you grab your probe and you're not too good at switching between your base and your probe, what you can do is you can hold shift and right click here, 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 and here, and it's good enough for running away from SCV. There's nothing else threatening him right now, so that's a great way to do that. Go back to your base and build things on time. Again, your minerals are starting to stack up. But it looks like you're buying the range and dragoon, so that's okay. The Terran is still mining gas. So normally when I'm scouting with my probe, besides running around, an important thing to check with Protoss versus Terran is how many workers do they have on gas. So usually a Terran will take 2 workers off of their gas and only leave 1. And that would be a good sign that they're going for a FD fake double, or they're going for a fast expand with just spider mines. When they have 2 guys on gas, usually they're either going for a siege expand, so that means siege mode expand, or a double factory. So it's good to look out for those things. So keep in mind on the worker count on the gas. So I like that you're taking an expansion. Noticing that he didn't go a second factory and then he still has guys on gas is a good way to know that he's going for siege tank expand. It means you should take your expansion as early as possible. So I'm glad that you noticed that, Joel, and you made your expansion right away. Rather than being safe and try to build more gateways in a robo and then taking your expansion, it would actually put you behind. So just like you thought, he's going command center, he's going siege range, and he's making a siege tank. So just seeing how many guys he has on gas is a good way to notice this. I'm also glad that you have your dragoons right outside his base. On Arcadia, it looks like you have so much free range to just put some pressure on with your dragoons. And it's very hard for the Terran to float their command center out here, when you can put your dragoons up here. Are you... What? Wow, you got his siege tank first? That typically doesn't happen. Usually they'll repair their siege tank, pull it back. So, wow, that was actually really good of you to get that siege tank like that. You need to pull this guy back, though. Good to see that you're transferring probes. You should still be building probes in your main base and on your secondary. So you need to work on building probes at all times. I could tell that you're probably caught up in macroing your units. This guy needs to learn his command center and start mining, or else he's behind. Okay, he does that. So right now, you built 2 more gateways. I would just go straight for another Nexus with these 2 gateways. Arcadia is a great map to just take a third, like as soon as possible. You never want to be equal base with Terran. Protoss as the same base as Terran, you're just going to lose. You always need to be +1 base. And that's because a Terran 200-200 army always beats the Protoss 200-200 army. So cancel this gateway. It's a little too much. I do like that you're spending your money and buying more gateways. I typically advise this, but this base is just so easy to take. And you know he's making siege tank expand off of 1 or 2 factories. You know he took another base. There's just nothing he can really do. You can take this base free. You can make 3-4 dragoons, a wall right here, and take this base for free, and then build 6 or 7 gateways. So right now, Joel, you need to back off. Like I said in previous videos, when playing against Terran, you want to put dragoons kind of in their face. You want to stop vultures from coming out to harass you. You want to have map control, and you want to take more bases. So the whole purpose of having your Protoss dragoons right here is to take as much map as possible. So one of the biggest things you're missing out on right now is this base here. You should already be almost done with the Nexus, if not mining from a Nexus here. And you need to keep building workers, so work on that as well. Oh, actually, never mind, you're making them. I noticed you have robots. Support bay with shuttle speed. Shuttle speed is actually really good against Terran for storm drops and for zealot bombs on their tanks. But it's just a little too early to get that. So right now you're 2 base against a Terran 2 base. But that actually means you're behind, because the Terran army beats the Protoss army. Huh. So, like, you just have this free third that you're not taking, and that's going to cost you the game if you don't take that. I'm glad you have an observer in his base. I was discussing this before, but the observer is so important for Protoss versus Terran. You can count how many factories they have. You can see what they're building, if they're teching. You can see how many bases they have, and then if they're going to move out or not. So, like, you can have an observer scout these and this base. He has no turrets, just watching. And you can see he's taking a third. So if he's taking a third, why are you not taking a third and taking a fourth? You need to be 1 base up on Terran. You cannot beat a Terran 2 base against 2 base, and you definitely can't beat a Terran 2 base against 3 base. There's just no way. So it looks like you're about to take another base. Okay, so you did take your third, but it's just like late. It's about 3 minutes late. There's no reason to not take that base earlier. If your Terran goes siege expand, then you know he can't make more factories. You know his army can't be very big. And you know you could just take a third, and then with that income from the third, macro up to 6 gates and make shuttle speed, zealot bombs, things like that. Keep your dragoons in his face. Like right now, you have map control. What is he going to do? You have dragoons in his face. He's just going to build right here. Why are you not taking this 4th and taking this 5th? You need those extra bases to beat him in the later game. So right now you have 101 supply versus his 90. That's enough to lose to his 90 supply, 101. You need to be like 20 to 30 supply ahead if you're going to engage his army. Since you're not engaging his army, you need to take more bases. So work on that. I'm glad you're upgrading weapons. That's very good. Upgrades are super important in Protoss versus Terran. If they go, well, usually Terran goes +1/+1 and then +2/+2. And if you don't have any armor or attack, you're just going to get destroyed. So I'm glad that you're doing that. So you made this third quite a while ago, but you haven't transferred any probes. And you stopped building probes, so that's something you need to work on as well. Keep building probes. I like that you're making a lot of gateways and you're making a lot of units. But if you're not building probes and you're not mining from this third, it's all for nothing. Let's speed it up a little bit. So you have a good army size now. But see this? With just dragoons, there's no way you can engage this. However, with Zealot speed and this many dragoons, you're actually pretty far ahead against this army. The rest of his army is down here and scattered. If you were to just have an observer, like I said before in other videos, oh, you do have an observer. Get in there, man. Having an observer and seeing he only has 8 tanks and you have like 1,000,000 units, go in there and kill that. You have easily enough units to just crush that, unless you're making Zealot leg speed still. It doesn't appear like it. Yeah, go kill them. So you set your Zealots in, it's a little early. You want to attack with your Zealots and your Dragoons like maybe 1 second after you send your Zealots in. This is the one time where you can keep attacking with your Dragoons. But typically, if you lose your Zealots, I would advise pulling back with your Dragoons. This is another part of the downfall for you. You're kind of attacking into this perfect position Terran, but there's no way you can break this. And you're still not mining from your third. Huge mistake. If you can just take more money here, here, and here, you can build 20 gateways, throw a bazillion units into this, rebuild them, throw a bazillion units into this, rebuild them, throw a bazillion units into this. So I already can tell you're going to lose this game. You really need to send some probes over here. I mean, just grab a couple of these guys, send them over. Grab a couple of these guys, send them over. Build 5 here, build 5 here if you can't remember to build probes. But it's super important to always build probes at all times. So that's something you need to work on. Your army management and engagement is pretty good. Having the Dragoons with the Observer is a nice touch, just to be able to clear mines, stay in his face, but not engage directly until you have Zealots. Here come the Zealots, and you should go in now. The thing is, you're engaging properly, you're building the right armies, you should pull back here, which you do. So you're pulling back perfectly. But this is your big problem. You only have 2 mining bases with not that many probes. The Terran's got 3 bases. You cannot beat a Terran unless you're +1 base on them. So guys, always remember if you're Protoss, you're in the Terran's face. Terran's having a hard time moving out. He's probably panicking. There's too many Protoss units. What do I do? How do I take a third? How is Terran supposed to take this over here? Look how far he has to go. But as a Protoss player, what can he do to stop you from taking this base? How can he even come near you? What you need to do is utilize the Protoss advantage, which is map control. Take this base and this base. Build a zillion gateways here. Which, by the way, I'm going to compliment you on your unit, your gateway placement. It looks really good. And build more gateways here. Build a bazillion here. Build a bazillion here. So you finally started mining out of your third and you took a fourth. But you're not building more probes. And he killed some probes that are natural. So now you're just way behind. You have 118 supply. He has 124. He has 5,000 minerals. This game's pretty much over. So Joel, you need to work on your army engagement is great. Your unit composition is pretty great as well. You need to work on taking more bases, not being afraid to expand, and always making probes non-stop the entire game. Don't push your luck against Terran army. Stay right outside their range. force the Terran to engage you. You engaging the Terran, it's just going to make the Terran win. If you can make them engage you, then the Protoss wins. But usually your Protoss army is too weak to engage Terran army. There's no way you can break this. Why bother trying to fight this when you can take bases everywhere? So those are your main mistakes. As far as your gateway placement goes, it looks great. Your macro seems okay. Your money's been low the entire game. But your probe count has been low the entire game as well. And your base count has been low. And when you take your fourth, when a Protoss takes your fourth base, you should be adding 5 to 6 gateways at your fourth. You should have about 12 gateways in your main. And you should be making arbiters nonstop. Otherwise, you're just going to keep attacking the Terran army. He's going to keep chipping away at you. And eventually, it's going to be more cost efficient for the Terran than it is for you. So that's why you need more bases. Protoss army can't beat a Terran army straight up. It can only beat them with more units or getting lucky with their engagement. So we're going to exit this replay. Joel, thanks for the great replay. Let's take a look at your Protoss versus Zerg replay as well. This is cracklings. So in this replay, Esoteric and Joel Chan are the Protoss and Zerg. Esoteric is top right and Joel Chan is bottom right as a Protoss player. He says, same thoughts as before, sort of abstracted across these two games. Pretty typical of my matches currently. Look forward to your thoughts. Joel actually added a lot more. He said, just did a quick run through. I was basically ahead the whole entire game. At one point I had double his supply. To be honest, it's actually typical for Protoss to have more supply than Zerg. The Zerg usually will have less supply, and the Zerg army usually beats the Protoss army. Again, Protoss army kind of sucks. But the thing with Protoss versus Zerg is once you have a group of death, you have that Psystorm, you have that Dragoons, you have those Zealots, you have those Archons, it becomes very difficult for the Zerg to engage you. It basically says he can continually pump cracklings, and you wish you switched to Reaver. He did a good job countering ultras with high Templar and some Maelstrom. Okay, you still got pretty late game. Let's take a look. I'm going to speed it up to times 4 for this game as well. Where's your fast expand? Here? Okay. Alright, something's not right here. Zealot and Gateway. Alright, so for starters, Joel, when a Zerg goes 9 pull gas into speedlings, 2 cannons is really all you need. I would build the Nexus after this, and not the Zealots. Keep your probe alive. Try to scout as much as possible. If you scout more Zerglings, you add on more cannons. You don't need a Gateway and Zealots. But so far it's okay. He hasn't really taken much of his next expansion, and he made a Hydralisk Den. So you're still pretty even. Looks like you're playing really safe and making some Zealots and making a cannon. But like I said, if you just made 2 cannons, a Nexus, and then a 3rd cannon, and kept count of his Zerglings, you don't really need these bunch of Zealots. But they can come in use later. You really need to take your next base. So you made a Cybernetics Core, you better make a Dragoon and kill this Overlord. And then make a Stargate. Okay, I like that you take your gas expansion first. That's unnecessary. You don't need this assimilator. I would build that after expansion is done. You really need to utilize your Cybernetics Core and go Corsair or Citadel right now. Okay, you're building the Dragoon. Hopefully you don't try to attack this with your Dragoon and mainly go to kill this Overlord. That is the only way reason to make a Dragoon early like this. Zerg is going 1, 2, 3 hatch Hydra. Which is alright. I guess he's going for a Hydra bust or something. There you go. Sending the Dragoon in. Alright, cool. You made your Stargate. You definitely need to add on your Citadel. He's trying to Hydra bust you, but your cannons are in good positioning. I doubt he can really do anything. I like that you're going +1 weapons. Like I said, versus Zerg, +1 weapons, so important. Zealots can kill Zerglings in 2 hits with +1 weapons. 3 hits if any other, if you're the same attack as they are armor. And that's because the Zealot's attack goes 8+1, 8+1, rather than 16+2. It's kind of dumb, but it is what it is. Trying to be 1 weapons ahead of the Zerg player is very important in this matchup. So when this Corsair spawns, what you should do is send it straight to your opponent's base and scout what he's doing. Okay, you need to know exactly what he's doing so you can counter what he's doing next. You made a Nexus, but again, you need to focus on probe production. One of the main advantages of Protoss is you can make probes here, you can make probes here, you can make units out of your gateways, you can make units out of your Stargate, while the Zerg has to choose, what am I going to use my larva for? Am I going to make Hydralisk? Am I going to make Zerglings? Am I going to make drones? Am I going to make Overlords? Okay, yeah, he does have more larva than you have gateways and everything. But the fact that they have to choose, it makes it much harder for them to macro. Where the Protoss should always be making probes at all time. At both bases. Look how much money you have too. I would throw down a couple gateways. Alright. Maybe a third one. Boom! Zealot speed. Where's your Templar archives? You need to make that as well. I like the 4 gateways. Templar archives, okay. But why are you not scouting him with this? And why are you not making more probes with this space here? Those are things you need to work on. To be honest, being 2-base Zerg versus 2-base Protoss, you should be way ahead. But since your probe production has been pretty lackluster, you're pretty much even. Had you been making probes the whole time, you would have a huge macro advantage. And these Corsairs shouldn't be flying around right here. They should be in his base. Scouting what the Zerg is doing is one of the most important things you can do in Protoss vs. Zerg. And Protoss vs. Terran even. You need to have map control. You need to know what your opponent's doing at all times. So send these guys out and take this base. What's stopping you from taking this base? Again, Arcadia. One of the easiest maps to take a third on. Why not just take your third? How is he going to bust this? He wasn't able to bust this before. So just take a third base. But Joel, what you're doing fine so far is macroing out of your gateways and having the right army composition versus Zerg. This engagement is totally unnecessary and it's going to cost you all your Zealots. Running Zealots into Hydralisk just makes no sense. Unless you have an army advantage. Now you should be adding on High Templar with Storm, which here they are. But you need to make more probes at all your bases. And you need to take this free base that Arcadia has blessed you with. 3-base Protoss versus 3-base Zerg. You would just destroy him. In fact, just like how a Protoss needs to be +1 base against Terran, Zerg actually needs to be +1 base against Protoss for this to be an even matchup. So you're just like way ahead if you just take this base and just macro like crazy. So yeah, you're keeping your money low, but typically if you had the probes that you would need to have, your money wouldn't be as low as it is. So you're kind of cheating in that sense. So here's a typical lurker contain and a ton of Hydras. How do you beat that lurker contain, you ask? Well, you can't beat it with this. You can't beat it with Zealots. You can't beat it with High Templar. The only way to break out of this lurker contain is to storm each lurker 1 time and start making tons of Dragoon with range and then add Observer. Using 2 Psystorm per lurker is a complete waste because another Psystorm could be used on the Hydra Clump or on another lurker. There, used another Psystorm, but that's a waste. You could have used on another lurker. Let's fast forward this a little bit. So this will actually happen quite a bit to Protoss players. Is you'll get contained by lurkers and Hydralisks, and sometimes they'll bring overlords and snipe your observers, which is really annoying. So knowing how to break out of this containment is very important. And the way to do so is to Psystorm Hydralisk, Psystorm lurkers once, and pump out a ton of Dragoons. That was good, Psystorm. A ton of Dragoons with range and some observers. Keep your observers behind your Dragoons. Maybe an observer here with Dragoons in front. That way the Hydralisks can't snipe them. And then Psystorm only 1 per lurker, so that way you can use Psystorm on the other lurkers. Don't make too many Zealots because they'll just get destroyed by lurkers. So again, like, you're getting contained. Well, that was actually a pretty good breakout. Kill that lurker. Alright, so you have all this money, right? You just broke that lurker contain. What do? Well, you either go kill their expansions, put some pressure on their main, take a base, or do 2 at once. So what I normally do when I break a lurker contain is to take my army and I start attacking their main base. This will put pressure on the Zerg so they can't make drones anymore. This will make them make more units, Hydralisks, sunken colonies, Zealots, and while they have pressure put on them, you can take this base here and maybe this base here. So again, you're not utilizing your bases. You barely have any probes at your natural. You're basically playing 1 base against Zerg 3 base. In the long run, it's just going to cost you the game. You need to just take this free base. But your unit composition, as usual, I got to commend you on. This just looks great, right? So you have some Zealots, you have some Archons, you have some Dragoons with observers, you have plenty of observers in case he snipes you. But see how much units he has compared to you? Yeah, he has half the supply, but that's because he has a bazillion units and no drones. The thing about Zerg is they don't really need any drones. They need barely any drones compared to how many probes you have. That's because they could take more bases with their hatcheries rather than saturating these mineral fields with more drones. Take this base. Why are you taking this base? Why are these probes over here when they could be mining this? That's a big mess up right there, Joel. You need to take these probes and mine this base. Your main is mined out, but you're barely mining your natural, and you completely skipped your third. Huge disadvantage for you. So work on that, man. Work on taking the bases that are closest to you. Take this base. Take this base. This base is much easier for Zerg to come in, and it's come in and attack. But this base over here, it's just super hard for the Zerg to come over here and destroy this base. You can just build a couple cannons here and here and put a High Templar in this base. It's super hard for them to attack that. So not too much more to say about this game. You stop upgrading after 1 upgrade. You're still +1 compared to the Zerg, but keep upgrading. Utilize your natural. Take your third. It's right here. Make more probes. I'd still commend you on how you engage his armies, what units you're making. You're making a great unit composition for his, but look, all of a sudden he has 20 Ultralists. What do? Well, it feels like he's just pumping out a ton of units with a ton of bases, but he really only has 3 bases. So utilize taking your third, taking your 4th here, taking your 5th here. Keep upgrading the attack. Try to stay in their face. Try to scout their bases. I know he hasn't taken any, but you haven't even scouted over here either. Always send a Zealot or an Observer to scout their 4th and 5th base. Work on that, and you would actually easily beat this guy. You're definitely better than him, but you missed out on your bases here. You missed out on your base here, and you're barely mining your natural, man. So work on that, guys. And next up, I just want to show one replay showcasing me versus a Terran. I want to give you my mind thoughts, my mind and thought process during that game, so you guys know what to do when you're playing against Terran as well. Good defense. This one. So this is the first. I've never shown you guys a replay of me versus another player online. I'm Real Zork, and the Terran player is Mikhail. I'm actually going to hide his vision so we only see what I'm doing the whole entire game, so we can talk about what I think, what to do, and how I engage this guy. I labeled this replay PVT Good Defense. So hopefully he has a good defense, like I labeled it, and we can showcase how to engage his army properly as a Terran player, or a Protoss player. So let's just go times 8. So bottom right's kind of weird. You kind of have to build your gateway and pylon here, which is not the best placement because you have to build your cybernetics core right underneath it. But it's fine. So, first thing I notice, like I mentioned earlier in the video, 1 SCV on gas means that he's not going to factory, so I can be sure that he's not rushing me. So he's either going fake double or 1 factory expand. Now, he's constantly producing Marines. I'm noticing this as well as I scout with my probe. A Terran player who constantly produces Marines, makes a factory, and has 1 guy on gas, is typically going for a 5 to 6 Marine, 1 Vulture, 1 tank push against you. Unless they realize you're cross position, they might not do that. So I got plenty of information. I know this. He's making a lot of Marines. He has 1 guy of gas, so he can't make 2 factories. He's most likely either going to expand here with a bunker or try to push out with a Vulture, a tank, and multiple Marines. But because I know that there's not much pressure you can put on me, even with the FD push, my Dragon Mech is good enough. I'm going to go for an expansion pretty early. I'm going to send my Dragons out to scout what the Terran is doing, get a little pressure in their face. You should be proactive with your initial Dragons like I am right now. Take your base as early as possible because you notice that he has only 1 guy in gas. There's not much he can do. So I'll put my Dragons here and see what he's doing. At the same time, I'm going to build a second gateway after my Nexus. And then I'll build a robotics facility for observers. Like I said before, having observers to see what the Terran is doing is very important. Looks like he's going siege expand. By noticing that siege tank there, I can back off to the ramp and know that he's just going to siege here, expand to this base, and it's going to be a straight up macro game at this point. Let's speed it up a bit. So I got my robo coming. I got 2 gateways. I'm mining for my second base. Up. He tried to push in with his siege tank, Marines, and Vulture, but having 5 Dragoons and more on the way, it was easily enough to stop that. So even a FD push is not enough to stop a 1 gate expand as long as you have some Dragoons at his base to spot him coming out. So usually when you want to take your third, pretty quick, because the Terran can't really do much at this point. You want to bring some Dragoons just in case they have a Vulture here, because they usually will station their Vulture at their third to stop you from expanding. So build a Nexus. And I have 3 gateways pumping Dragoons. And I have observers on the way. I will always send my first observer to their natural. Maybe even check their factory count. After I take my third, I'm going to add on more gateways and a citadel. So I'll probably go citadel and more gateways. And it's pretty safe to do this. I mean, there's not much that Terran can do. He's got 2 bases, but it takes a long time for the Terran to build up enough tanks to put pressure on you. So as a Protoss player, just take your third. You know, with a couple Dragoons, just be safe about it, but it's not that scary. I always have a control group of Dragoons with an observer, so I can walk around the map and kill some spider mines and maybe try to deny some Vulture harass. Somehow he snuck some Vultures into my main, even with my wall. of dragoons and pylons here. So it's not that big a deal. I'm blocking myself, but bring your dragons, bring a observer back. I just lost a gazillion probes. That is kind of a big deal. But it's okay. Just keep making more probes. Be proactive with these dragoons. Check his third. He might be taking the third at this point. I should move this observer up more. See what he's doing. I've got my third running. I've got 2 dragons on the ramp, so he can bring vultures up here. Natural mining. My main should be pumping more probes here. I got zealot speed probably on the way. I've got 4 gateways now, but I want to move up to 6 or 8. These dragoons should be killing these spider mines and checking out his third. I came in just in time, it looks like. He's got siege tanks on the low ground, but not much defending them. Where's his vultures at? Snipe a few tanks, pull away, guard this space, move your observer down here to see what his siege tanks are up to. Keep your dragons within range. At the same time, while I'm doing that, I'm macroing, pumping out more zealots. Make a shuttle maybe, make zealot speed. Keep making probes at all my bases. Deny his third. This is a mistake by me. I only killed 1 tank and ended up losing 5 dragons. I was very dumb. Usually, if they move this many tanks in, take your dragoons, pull back, don't press your luck. That was pretty stupid of me. He's got 61 supply. I've got 89. I'm still ahead. He's looking like taking this third again. I'm going to bring in my second group of army here with a bunch of dragons and zealots. If I can get in time before he builds a supply depot missile turret wall, I can run my zealots in first, take out the siege tanks, run my dragons, and snipe this command center. And at the same time, build more gateways. So that's exactly what happens. I've got my dragons in here. I got my zealots in. We're going to snipe the command center with my dragoons. We're going to send my zealots down here to kill his Terran army. And, I'm not doing much to engage him directly down here because I can't break that. But I am trying to prevent him from taking this third as long as possible. I lose my zealots, so I have to back off. But I keep my observer in his face so I can see what he's doing. I should be taking a fourth at this point. So that's my downfall. Or it's one of my bad things I did in this game is I should be taking a fourth base after putting so much pressure on his face here. I've got a shuttle with 4 zealots. So it looks like I'm just pushing this third as hard as possible. I'm probably going to bring the shuttle with zealots over here to drop his tanks. Keep my dragons in his face. There's not much he can do unless he's on cheese and move forward, but I can see that happening with my observer here. Keep building probes the entire game out of all 3 gateways. I'm at 115 supply. He is at 84, so I'm pretty far ahead. Here comes the zealot. So again, I deny his third, and it's looking pretty bad for him right now. I've got Arbiter on the way, which is going to be good for stasis and recalls later on. I've got plenty of dragoons with my zealot bombs here. Somehow he snuck vultures into the space again. I think he laid some spider mines in my face, killed my 2 dragoons on the ramp. Came in and killed a bunch of probes. Brought my army all the way back, which is kind of dumb. I should have just brought my few units down here to defend my base rather than bring my army back because now he was able to take his third. And I kind of just let him do that. I have a pretty big army now with a bunch of speedlots and dragoons. As usual, I'm not going to try and attack his natural because it's completely walled off and there's nothing I can do there. But I will try to come into his third and push that again. And here comes me taking my fourth finally, but a little late. When there's spider mines, you should always send your dragons and observers in first. Bring a shuttle, drop on his siege tanks in the back. Even a couple siege tanks and the vultures on the ramp just completely destroyed all my zealots. Bad engagement by me. I just lost a ton of zealots, but however, like I said before, if you lose all your zealots, pull your dragoons back and you'll be okay. Do not lose these dragoons to that same thing. It's okay to just stay right outside his range. I should be taking this fourth base now. Yeah, there it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I only have 7 gateways. I have arbiters on the way. I have another shuttle coming out. I think I might go for storm drop now. I have a high Templars being made. I brought Arbiter in, I stasis some siege tanks. I brought another shuttle in to drop them. But even now, I still lose this battle to a couple tanks and vultures. Another bad engagement by me, but it's enough to keep the Protoss or the Terran occupied while I take more bases. If you can keep them occupied with your army, you should always be taking another base. If you can't keep them occupied with your army, you should be using your army to defend your next base. Here come my probes. So Terran's on 2-2 upgrades. I'm on 1-0. Again, another mistake by me. Terran 2-2 is completely going to destroy my 1-0-0 upgrades. Upgrade more often in Protoss versus Terran. Super necessary. What was I thinking? I need to work on that. It looks like I'm going for a double recall at this point, sending in 2 arbiters. I think I might have already storm dropped him with this shuttle here. I completely attack his engineering bay, which blows my cover, which is a dumb idea. He's probably going to unsiege and move his army back over here at this point. What am I doing? I don't know, but that's okay. Looks like I might take a 5th base as well, which is very important. He's got 3. I need more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 base. Or 7 gateways. Here comes my arbiters. I just recall right in his face. I actually like this play because some of his army spread out over to his 3rd base and some of his armies right here. And he probably sent some of his army to his main, thinking I'm going to recall his main, but really I recalled his natural. Taking out a lot of his units. And at the same time with distraction, I could take another base here. Losing my arbiters to missile turrets is probably not the greatest idea. You want to pull them back a little bit, but just doing this little bit of damage is enough to frustrate the Terran into losing control a little bit and forgetting that the Protoss is taking over the rest of the map. Here comes a shuttle with High Templars in it. Looks like I'm going to storm his main. We got 3, 4, 5, 6 kills. Couple more kills with this High Templar. Couple more kills with this High Templar. So now the Terran's pretty far behind. Looks like he has 123. I have 144. It's not that big a difference, but he's lost a lot of SCVs here, and he's lost a lot of SCVs here. And he's almost out of money in both his bases. Well, I have money in this base, a little bit here, this base, and this base. So I'm pretty far ahead at this point, actually. Now that I have such an army advantage, I can just go ahead and just attack straight onto his army. But even then, I just lost a huge army to his smaller army. What just happened? Well, like I said, Protoss army always loses to Terran army. What I just did is only accepted if you have this many more bases than Terran base. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 almost. Well, he's just starting his 4th. So I'm able to throw away my army into the Terran army, just chipping it down just a little bit, and then rebuilding it off 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 gateways. Maybe some more up here as well once I get the money. So again, I want to use the Dragoons and the Observer to clear the mines. I want to have observers here and here all over the map, kind of just searching what he's doing, making sure he can't take other bases. I'm completely maxed out at this point. I should be double upgrading, which I am. Looks like good. At this point, I'm so far ahead, I can just throw my army into his army over and over and over again, and I would win. I'm not sure what I'm up to now. I have 4 arbiters. Let's just speed this up. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, it looks like I do this stat. Just throw my army into his army. Probably going to lose it all, but I could just rebuild my army pretty quickly off of these gateways and maybe some more gateways up here once I decide to build them. And now he is at 3-3 and I'm at 2-1-1. So I'm still a little bit behind on my upgrades. I should be at 3-2-1 is the typical Protoss upgrades. But again, I'm like so far ahead. He only has 2 bases mining maybe against my 4. So I could just throw my army away and just rebuild it and then do it again and again and again. So what you should be focusing on this point later in the game is either chipping away at the Terran main army with your army or getting into his face and taking out these bases here. Killing more SCVs. So it looks like I just recalled in stasis here. And I'm going to try and kill as many SCVs as possible, kill as many units as possible, and then rebuild and do it again and again. Keep the pressure on the Terran on his expansions. Don't try to go for the main unless you're recalling into the main and there's no missile turrets. Try to keep upgraded as much as they are. Try to take over the map as much as possible. Try to keep observers around the map. And even if they macro more than you, as long as you could take more bases and keep building units, you'll eventually win the trades and take the game. So that's it for today's replay analysis, guys. I hope you liked this video. If you want to send me a replay and have me analyze, send it to professorprotoss@gmail.com. One more thing, I'm almost at 100 subscribers. If I reach 100 subscribers, I'm going to be doing something special for you guys, a free giveaway. So once we reach that, I'll let you know. Thanks for watching. Hope you tune in later, and happy gaming. See you later.